like to thank all of you for coming and attending this little short ceremony that we're going to have. Our guest of honor are these two gentlemen who started at 1 a.m. this morning and marched from Marksville. We're surprised that they marched as fast. They left Marksville at 1. We thought they'd be here about 9. They were here at 7. They did not fool around. We start with a little prayer. Please uncover. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless this group and these people, and remember all these soldiers and veterans that have died before us, and this is the reason of Memorial Day, is to remember all those souls of all the soldiers who have died in battle and in war. We'd like to thank these two gentlemen and pray for them and pray for our souls. Okay, while you're standing, join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like I said, we'd like to welcome you. Have a seat now, please. I'd like to welcome everybody here. We're going to have a short ceremony, I promise you. Just a few things. If you'll notice some of these columns, we have names, and we go from Civil War to discharge last week. If anyone is interested in having a name added to the column, I have the forms in the caboose. Be glad to take it. I've already gotten 4 or 5 this morning. As soon as we have weather permits, we're going to add a bunch of names to these columns. If anyone has any questions about it, see me later. Okay. First, we're going to ask Mr. Wilbur Carmouche to say a few words for us.
Good morning. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you here today for this Memorial Day gathering, to honor our fallen, besides also with the group gathered here. Simsport always comes across in momentous occasions to remember the different situations that we have at different times. This is the second or third time that I've been able to be here, never as a speaker, but always as a spectator. And you'll come up with the most wonderful programming for every specific event that we have. And in this time, I would like to give a shout out to the town of Simsport, but specifically to post number 7643 for all y'all do for your community. Thank you. To Specialist Rogers and Sergeant Best. While most of us were sleeping, they walked 24.1 miles in respect of the many who never came home. That is why they marched. While I was looking for information on these two gentlemen that I could share with you today, I found out that they were very humble people and not much is out there about them. All I can say is that Specialist Taylor Rogers served 4 years in the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles, and he was one of those that walked those 24 miles. Sergeant Cody Best, originally from Avoyelles Parish and now a resident of Hammond, is a sergeant with the Louisiana National Guard for 12 years, and he recently re-enlisted for an additional 6 years. He recently Sergeant Best recently returned from a deployment to Turkey as a Black Hawk helicopter mechanic. Thank you both, gentlemen, for what you have done so that we can lay our heads on our pillows at night and still sleep safely. Why did they march? What's the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? On both Memorial Day and Veterans Day, it's customary to spend time remembering and honoring the countless veterans who have served the United States throughout the country's history. However, there is a distinct between the two holidays. Memorial Day, today, commemorates the men and women who died while in military service of their country, particularly those who died in battle or as a result of wounds sustained in battle. In other words, the purpose of Memorial Day is to memorialize the veterans who made that ultimate sacrifice for their country. We spend time remembering those who lost their lives and could not come home, reflecting on their service and why we have the luxury and freedom that we enjoy today. We might consider how we can support and safeguard their grieving families and loved ones who were left behind. And that is why they marched. And Veterans Day is the day set aside to thank and honor all who served, regardless of whether they died or survived. Traditionally, on Memorial Day in the United States, people visit cemeteries and memorials, and volunteers often place flags on each gravesite at the national cemeteries. A national moment of remembrance takes place at 3 p.m. local time, your local time. So at 3 p.m., let's say a prayer for these people that never came home. The custom of honoring ancestors by cleaning cemeteries and decorating graves is an ancient and worldwide tradition. But the specific origin of Memorial Day, or Decoration Day, as it was first known, is unclear. In early rural America, this duty was usually performed in the late summer and was an occasion for family reunions and picnics. After the Civil War, America's need for a secular, patriotic ceremony to honor its military dead became prominent, as monuments to fallen soldiers were erected and dedicated, and ceremonies centering on the decoration of soldiers' graves were held in towns and cities throughout the nation. After World War I, the day expanded to honor those who have died in all American wars, and that is why they marched. I want to share a short story with you that ran in the New York Times on January 18th, 2012. Another mother's son lost. I knew her by name from the newspaper articles, but I did not know if I should speak to her. What would I say to this woman whose son had fallen dead at my son's feet? In the first weeks of the Iraq War, as the Marines traveled from Kuwait to Baghdad, our sons were walking side by side, clearing a field about 20 miles south of Baghdad. An insurgent popped out of the tall grass and shot Marine Corporal Eric Silver, 22 years old, in the stomach. My son then killed the man who had shot his friend. It was my son's 20th birthday. We were standing on a miserably hot parking lot at Camp Pendleton in California, waiting for the buses that were bringing home the men of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Her son's body had been brought home 5 months earlier. Yet there she was in a large group of people standing around the back of a minivan, an attractive 40-something woman with long dark hair. A banner read, "The family of Corporal Eric Silva, United States Marine Corps." Everyone in the group was wearing a t-shirt or a button with a photo of Corporal Silva in his formal Marine portrait, framed by clouds. If it had been my son who was killed in Iraq, if that bullet had been set a foot or so in the other direction, could I have come to this parking lot to welcome home these young men? To see them step off the bus into the long embraces and tears of relief from their mothers. I had spent a restless night at a nearby motel, listening to a loud air conditioner and wondering what had become of my beautiful son. Would he be the same now that he had killed a man? Would he have been the same easy laugh and sense of fun? Should I ask about the war? Should I ask about the day his fellow Marine died? Would our relationship as a mother and son be the same? I wondered if Corporal Silva's mother regretted his becoming a Marine. When my son told me he was going to join the Marines, it had felt like a punch in the gut. I had sacrificed so much for his education. The Marine Corps was the last place I wanted him to be. We found out that the buses with the returning Marines would not arrive for at least 4 more hours. So we had a long, hot wait ahead of us. To the side of the large lot, I saw a tiny bit of shade and decided to stake out a place to sit and wait. I passed by the Silva family and sat on the hard dirt. I needed to think. I realized I could not sit there and say nothing. The Silvas did not know who I was. I felt sick to my stomach. Finally, I got up and walked over to her. Mrs. Silva, even though she was wearing sunglasses, I could see her face was splotchy. Yes, I'm Eric Shelva's mother from the 3rd, 5th. My son was a good friend of your son. I am so sorry. She hugged me and we talked. She told me about the day she had heard that her son had been killed, how she had been called at work to come home immediately, how she had seen the plain van parked in the front of her house, and how she had known instantly that he was dead, and how she screamed. I knew her story could not have been my story. In my mind, I had seen the same Marines 1,000 times standing at my front door in St. Louis, erect in their formal uniforms. I wondered if that was more grief than she was feeling on this parking lot. Perhaps she was anxious about meeting her son's fellow Marines, the one she had heard about in his letters home, the guys of the 3rd, 5th India Company. Perhaps it was a desire to hold her in her heart, those who had been the last people to see her son alive. As I walked away, I thank God that my son was getting off that bus. I thank God that I was not Corporal Silva's mother, who had been watched the Marines disembarking. I felt relieved. I felt guilty. I did not know how I felt. And that is why they marched.
Thank you, Wilbur. Taylor. And most of you don't know, the VFW post had a young man who loved in the Army, and we've kind of made him our honorary member, and Coda has a little presentation for him. Pima? The flag Taylor is giving Pima is the flag that he carried all of those miles this morning. Jacob Coco wants to present a wreath. He's our police jury member. Thank you, Jacob. I see our mayor just has arrived a little while ago. Mayor, would you like to say any words or not? Okay. This pretty much concludes our program, ladies and gentlemen. We wanted to keep it short and sweet. Luckily, we've had a good breeze blowing all morning, and we've had tents to put up in case of rain or that, but the wind was blowing too hard to put the tents up, which we are thankful for. Okay, as I said, this pretty much concludes our tent. We have just one more thing. Veterans, ahead, hut! Present arms! Order, arms. At ease. This concludes our program, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for your information, we didn't advertise it, but Booby cooked a big pot of pastelaria, and we'd like all of you to invite you to eat. We have plenty of Cokes, water. We have Coke, Sprite, and water. So things to drink. Right over here, we'll be serving now. Thank you for coming.